Well, let's take a look at the other big news today with Sky News senior reporter Caroline Marcus and senior writer and columnist for the Herald Sun, Patrick Carlyon. Welcome to you both. New data from the Home Affairs Department shows that more than 2,000 asylum seekers flew into Australia in May of this year. That's the highest of any month under the Albanese government and comes close to the record of 2,800 set in 2018. Interestingly, those seeking asylum are arriving by plane from relatively stable countries, including China, Vietnam and India. Caroline, Dan Tehan says there are currently more than 80,000 failed asylum seekers still awaiting deportation. And last May, just a few weeks ago, we got rid of 11 of those people, sending them back to where they'd come from. For a government that vowed to lower migration, they seem to be sitting on their hands, don't they?
Well, not just that, but they just blame the former government. They say it's all Peter Dutton's fault. This is the legacy he's left behind. But it does leave you to wonder, James, what happened to the $160 million that they pledged to crack down on dodgy asylum applications? Because it's certainly what a lot of these applications sounds like. As you mentioned, they're from relatively stable countries, people who've arrived here generally on plane, on tourist visas or temporary visa holders who, once they're here on our shores, then go through the process of applying for asylum. But perhaps what's even more concerning that was in this report was that the government now has before it 416 asylum claims from people who came from the Palestinian territories after October 7. And it's not that people who are genuinely refugees fleeing persecution shouldn't be granted asylum, of course, but I just have concerns over how thorough the vetting process is, considering a lot of people coming from that territory were given temporary visas within days, when it could take weeks, months to really vet the security clearances that these people need to have to come here.
Your cynicism surprises me. You have concerns over the vetting process of a department led by Mr. Giles. I'm amazed, Caroline.
I know, what could
go wrong? Patrick, Border Forces intercepted a boat, 44 asylum seekers. They've now been sent back to Indonesia, though I believe most of them were from Bangladesh. But there's also news that people smugglers are using TikTok to spread the word on how to get to Australia, bearing in mind, I just mentioned Minister Giles, how badly the detainees issue has been bungled. Do we really have much faith in the government keeping control of our borders?
Well, James, the signs aren't good, are they? I mean, we've had 2 boats intercepted in the past week, and we know from the longer history of these things that 1 or 2 boats can quickly become 10 to 12 boats, like in 6 months' time or whatever. The problem is, if people think they're half a chance to get residency here, they're going to try. There's a long queue of probably tens of millions of people who would try if they think they're a chance. And that perception, aided by the use of TikTok and so on, is actually driving people to try. And so basically, you look at there was a boat back in February that the men landed on a West Australian beach. They weren't detected until they were actually on the Australian mainland. And the surveillance hours of Border Force were down. You sort of got to wonder, if people think they're half a chance, they're going to try. And that's the worrying sign here. This might be the start of something that gets bigger and bigger.